And just as I thought I was done recording for the day, the LA Kings go out and trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois from the Winnipeg Jets. This news is very fresh, it just happened a couple of minutes ago, and I would like to be done recording for the day, so I'm going to keep this short. The LA Kings take on Dubois' $8.5 million contract in exchange for Gabe Vilardi, the signing rights at least, Alex Iafallo at $4 million, Rasmus Kupari, his signing rights, and a 2024 second-round pick that originally belonged to Montreal. Now, this is significant for a couple of reasons. Number one, LA had to sign and extend Dubois for 8 years at $8.5 million, a $68 million contract. And it's still new, so there's no news on if there's going to be any sort of no move clause or no trade clause or whatever else comes along with it as you get into the later years of that deal. But it does pretty much give you some assurance that the 25-year-old is going to be spending the bulk of the rest of his career, if not the rest of his career, in Los Angeles. Number two, Winnipeg is clearly shedding cap space with this move. With the totals of this deal, they end up gaining about $4.5 million of cap space, on top of the news that they may be buying out Blake Wheeler to free up another roughly $6 million. Now, with that said, there's no real indication at this point in time as to what they would intend to do with this roughly $10 million of cap space that they may have freed up if they do end up buying out Blake Wheeler's contract. It's worth pointing out that Connor Hellebuck, a goalie at 30 years old, will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this coming season. He might be due a contract extension. He's currently sitting a little bit over $6 million per year. But the other part of this for Winnipeg is they are now hurting at the forward position more than they were. Not only did they just lose Pierre-Luc Dubois, but they might potentially be buying out Blake Wheeler, which would leave them with 8 forwards currently signed to contracts and 9 free agents. And while you don't exactly have any big names on that free agency list, you do have some good depth players that you could potentially re-sign, like Vladislav Namestnikov, who was just at about $2 million per year. You've got Alex Iafallo in there at $4 million for the next 2 seasons, but the other kicker in this might be Gabe Vilardi, because he's just finishing up his entry-level contract, meaning he is due a payday. Not a giant payday by any means, but a payday nonetheless. He was the 11th overall pick by the Kings in 2017, didn't see NHL ice until 2019, and since then he's played 152 games, put up 41 goals, 37 assists for a total of 78 points. Now, granted, there are some injury concerns that happened along the way, and in his first season, he only played 10 games with the Kings, but last season was his best statistically for LA, where he played 63 games, put up 23 goals, 18 assists for a grand total of 41 points. He's been a contributor on the third line, but let's be honest, he was not probably going to crack the top 6 in LA, at least not with Quinton Byfield being the golden boy there and really being the up-and-comer that everyone is paying attention to. But he'll get that opportunity in Winnipeg, especially if they are indeed retooling their whole forward core. He's good to sign for maybe, I don't know, $4 to $5 million. I could see him playing on the second line, especially if Blake Wheeler ends up being bought out, because I think Nino Niederreiter would move up to the right wing on first line, and that would give an opportunity for Gabe Vilardi to move up to the second line and play across from Nikolai Ehlers. But then again, Alex Iafallo might slot better into that second line right wing and push Gabe Vilardi back down to third. Who knows? There's a lot that can happen between now and September. But while this is exciting for the Los Angeles Kings, it does leave me with a couple of questions on what they're doing at the center position at this point. Because as of today, as that deal goes through, the 5 centers that they have are Anze Kopitar, Phillip Danault, Quinton Byfield, Blake Lizotte, and now Pierre-Luc Dubois. And so I sit here and wonder, are they going to do the kind of thing that Toronto did when they bring in Ryan O'Reilly and just stack a solid center at every single line? Are they going to move, let's say, Anze Kopitar over to the wing and have him play with Dubois, or have him play with Danault as he gets a little bit older and further into his contract, kind of in the same vein as a Steven Stamkos? I don't know, but at this point, as I look down the forward group, especially for the Los Angeles Kings, that's a scary looking forward core. On top of Dubois, you've got Kopitar, you've got Adrian Kempe, you've got Victor Arvidsson, who's been pretty solid, Phillip Danault, Alex Iafallo is obviously out of there, Quinton Byfield is making quite a name for himself up there, Kevin Fiala. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that the LA Kings are going to have one of the best, let's at least say top 6 in the league, with the addition of Pierre-Luc Dubois. But that's only going to get him so far. The Kings definitely have some work to do on the blue line as well as in goals, so July is probably going to be an active month for the Kings as well. But for right now, I don't know. I think the Kings probably end up winning this trade, even if they are stuck with Pierre-Luc Dubois for 8 years. But what do you think? Is there a winner and a loser in this trade? Drop a comment in the comment box below, and I will see you in the next video as more news continues to drop. Hopefully not today.